Welcome to the February edition of the Superintendent's Webcast. So happy to have all of you join us today. For those of you that got a little bit of the bad weather, we hope that it is melting away quickly. And for the rest of us, we really dodged the bullet this time. So we're so happy that you could join us today. Also, just a little bit in advance, happy Valentine's Day, a day early. That's for all of you that still haven't ran out to the drugstore and bought your card. And I am one of those people, so I know I am good company. So don't forget to pick up a card or something special for your significant other. We do have a pretty full agenda today. If I can ask that we advance to the first slide, and we'll go over the agenda very quickly. I'm going to give you a couple of updates, and then Jennifer Ginn, our Assistant Director of Communications in the Kentucky Department of Education, will give some updates. And Jen is actually acting as our Director of Communications right now. So if you have communications that need to come to the department, if you'll please direct those to Jennifer. We're very pleased to have Chair of the Kentucky Board of Education, Dr. Sharon Porter Robinson, with us today, and she's going to give some updates from the Kentucky Board of Education. I know one thing that in my travels that I've heard that people are interested in right now, and that is an update on ARP ESSER. So we're going to have actually Matt Ross, the Associate Commissioner of the Office of Finance and Operations, with some help on questions from Robin Morley from that same office. And we're going to be talking about liquidation extensions in addition to some other ARP updates. And I know that's something that is of interest to our districts right now. We have presentations from our Office of Teaching and Learning on statewide literacy coaching model launch and the March leadership meeting of 2024. Brian Perry, our Legislative and Governmental Relations Director, will be joining us with a legislative update. And then finally, we have Dr. Thomas Woods Tucker on the counselor use of time survey reminder. And yes, we've gone so long on this with so many important things to share with you that we're on page 2. We're very happy to have our friends here from the Kentucky Cabinet for Health and Family Services to talk to us about Medicaid benefits for school-based health care. So we do have a very robust agenda. I'm going to turn it over to go to the next slide and just give you a few updates that has been happening here at the department. Jen, if you can go to the next slide, because I'd really like people to see the smiling faces more than the words. Just to share with you that I've had the privilege last week, with presenting the Kentucky Education Support Staff Professional Awards to two very deserving awardees, one in Fayette County at Breckenridge Elementary, and the other one in Robertson County. And both of these individuals are custodians in their school. This award was created in 2020 by Governor Andy Beshear and Lieutenant Governor Jacqueline Coleman. So we were so pleased that the Lieutenant Governor could join us at each of these visits to really honor these staff. You know, these are only two of our more than 46,000 classified school staff in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. And as a result of being named at the state level, they are now being forwarded to the U.S. Department of Education for consideration of a national 2024 Recognizing Inspiring School Employees, or the RISE Award. So our sincere appreciation to all the wonderful classified staff. I know that you rely upon them each and every day to make sure things are in great shape for our students. And we certainly congratulate our two award winners for this year. Next slide, please. It's been a week of celebration. I also had the honor and privilege of joining in the celebration of 103 new National Board Certified teachers that have joined this prestigious ranking. There was a ceremony here in Frankfort on February 8th. Kentucky always does really, really well as far as the number of National Board Certified teachers. We have the 10th largest class in the country, and we now have 4,373 National Board Certified teachers overall. And then additionally, this year, 253 Kentucky educators opted to renew this license. Our appreciation and thanks for the accomplishments of these teachers. It amazes me every time that I hear about this program of the dedication because this is a voluntary thing for them with your support in your local school districts. So we certainly appreciate your support, and we continue to hope that those numbers will grow and grow with our national board certified teachers. I'm now going to turn over to Jennifer again, and she's going to give you some additional updates from the Kentucky Department of Education. Jennifer?
All right, just make sure I don't stop sharing my screen. Okay, so we have our competitive grants from KDE. We've got 3 of them to share with you this time around. The first is FY24 Reading Diagnostic and Intervention Fund Mini Grant. Applications are due March 19th by 4 p.m. $40,000 award amount, and it is to support K-3 students in reaching proficiency in reading and writing through the purchase of high-quality instructional materials aligned to the Kentucky academic standards for reading and writing. We also have a FY24 Preschool Quality Partnership Grant, which is award amount up to $300,000. Grant applications are due by 4 p.m. Eastern Time, March 22nd. And it's funding to support full-day, high-quality early childhood services for 3- and 4-year-old preschool children. The goal is to expand access to or enhance quality of existing programs to meet the unique and unmet needs of children and families and communities across the state. And our last one is FY24 McKinney-Vento Homeless Children Education Program Grant. Applications due by April 18 at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. The award amount varies. And our Office of Continuous Improvement and Support is issuing an RFP from local education agencies to develop and implement programs that facilitate the enrollment, attendance, and success of homeless children and youth in school. And if you have any questions for more information, you can go to the KDE Competitive Grants webpage, which you should have the link to in your meeting notice. And you can also email Jennifer Bryant. Next is we are still accepting applications for the 24-25 Commissioner Student Advisory Council. It's for 1 year of service, but they can be reappointed if they are still eligible and wish to continue to serve. Positions are open to students in grades 9, 10, or 11, current students in 9, 10, or 11. They are selected to serve, students selected to serve represent each of Kentucky's Supreme Court districts. The council also includes at least 1 student from KSB and KSD, and also has at least 1 student who's enrolled in a career and technical education pathway. Applications are due by March 1st at 11:59 p.m. Central Time. If you know of any students who would be good fits for this, we'd encourage you to share it with them. We're always looking for more kids to participate. They provide a lot of great input at KDE, and we really do take their position as a very serious and valued position. A lot of our people love to meet with the student advisory and get their input on things that could affect them in the classroom. So please share that with anyone you think might be interested in applying. We'd love to have them. And next we have Chair Robinson doing a Kentucky Board of Education update. Are you there, Chair Robinson?
I am. Thank you, Jen. Thanks for the handoff, and thank all of you for joining us this afternoon. I'm really pleased to be able to participate in the Superintendent's Webcast. We had a really exciting recent meeting where we were reintroduced to our 2024 Kentucky Teacher of the Year, Kevin Daly, as he begins his tour of duty and begins his project working with teachers across the state and really across the country. I think we're going to hear a lot from Kevin, and it was just very gratifying to have him join us for the board meeting. We also heard a report from Advanced KY, their annual report to us, and let me just say this. If we can provide access to quality math instruction and support to the teachers of our students, Kentucky students can learn anything. We heard an amazing, encouraging, and inspiring report from Advanced Kentucky on the work that they're doing. We also got a 24-26 annual budget and legislative overview, and you'll hear more about that from Brian later in this program. And of course, our agenda included several approvals for the 2024 local district tax rates. So go to the next slide, please. Another issue on top of mind for all of us concerns our current commissioner search. The deadline for applications extends through the end of this week, February 16. We have had a good bit of feedback from various stakeholder groups through various formats, and we are looking forward to scheduled interviews in March. I will say to you, we are working on a very intense, ambitious agenda, hoping to select a candidate and present them for confirmation during this session of the General Assembly. Next slide, please. One of the most gratifying aspects of this work is recognizing the amazing work that our school districts are doing and our teachers are doing across the state. This year, we had an opportunity to recognize Hopkins County schools with the Kevin C. Brown Strategic Priority Award. The committee this year had suggested that the award would focus on strategic, systemic, and high-impact student work associated with implementing our portrait of learners. And I'm just going to read a few words of why Hopkins County came to the top of the pile this time. They're implementing what they call future-ready graduate characteristics into the fabric of learning throughout all the schools and in the community to create a seamless transition for students from preschool all the way to college and careers. The Future Ready Graduates Initiative began with the students and their future in the community in mind through a series of roundtable discussions. Key stakeholders, including board members, community members, business leaders, staff, and students, came together to set the foundational characteristics Hopkins County expects all students to acquire in the course of their P-12 career in Hopkins County. The district instructional team has placed future-ready instruction and student engagement through deeper learning as a high priority by creating a walkthrough observation tool to provide the feedback teachers need to enhance instruction and highlight student success in their classrooms. Hopkins County Schools' vision for students to be future ready is living out what the Hopkins County schools really are all about. One team, one mission, one community that will enrich us all. It was really a proud moment to present this award to Amy Smith, the superintendent, and her colleagues, and we enjoyed celebrating with them. Could you go to the next slide, please? Then we got to meet with students. We're observing CTE month, and the CTE students from across the state, from various student associations, came to exhibit and show us what they know and share their aspirations. We had students represented DECA, Educators Rising, HOSA, TSA, FCCLA, FBLA, Skills USA, and FFA. They exhibited for us and engaged with us around career paths, including aerospace engineering, agribusiness, civil engineering, culinary and food services, early childhood, entrepreneurship, welding, graphic design, and business and marketing. And these students, as you can tell, were ready to engage with us, and they all shared such dedication to the work that they're doing, such curiosity about what they might learn next, and a determination to enter the economy as contributing members and continuous learners. So it was wonderful. All the board members had a great time engaging with the students, and we also were able to enjoy lunch catered by the Jessamine County Culinary Arts Program. And that does conclude, oh no, it does not. A commercial, please. We have the opportunity to select a teacher and a student this year to join the state board. I cannot impress upon you how important these role models are for us, these voices, these perspectives. And you can see that the teacher, the eligible teacher must be from the 2nd Congressional District, and the eligible student must be from the 6th Congressional District. We know there's a lot of talent there, and so please, if you recognize teachers who might be interested in serving, they would certainly be welcomed. And the student voice has also become essential to the work of the board. So please apply through March 8th. Next slide. Our next meeting will be in April in Frankfurt, and please stay posted. Stay tuned in for the agenda as it is posted closer to that date. Next slide. Thank you. So we will now hand it off to, is it Robin?
Dr. Robinson, we're going to hand it off to Matt Ross, our Associate Commissioner in the Office of Finance and Operations. And Robin Morley is going to help with questions as needed. So Matt, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Matt?
Thank you, Dr. Robinson. Thank you, Robin. I'm Matt Ross. I'm the Associate Commissioner in the Office of Finance and Operations. We're going to give you an ESSER update today. And so I'm just going to jump right into my slides. I'm going to turn my camera off so you're not distracted by my big head. So here we go. The first thing we're going to talk about is US Ed's fiscal year 23 ESSER annual performance report. Next slide, please. So this for 2023, fiscal year 2023, the US Ed's district data collection reporting will cover the periods from 7/1/22 through 6/30/23. And then, so the way that will be reported is just like it was reported last time. GMAP will open for district reporting in April, on April 1. And then it will close on May 2nd. And then we will take that period between May 2nd and June 1 when we actually submit to US Ed to clean up data. So we may be following up with your district if we have any questions about your reporting data. Next slide, please. So as part of this required reporting for US Ed for 23, in prior years, there were several questions that were optional, and Kentucky didn't participate in those optional questions. But for 23, those optional questions are now mandatory. So you can see here these the new questions include not only expenditures by object code, which was previously required, but also by activity. And you're also going to have to provide staff FTE counts district-wide for select positions, and then staff FTE counts by school, and then student eligibility and participation counts for various programs on a district-wide basis. Next slide, please. Okay, so now we're going to jump into the ARP liquidation extension. This as we move towards the end of the ARP ESSER grant period, there is an opportunity for a liquidation extension. Next slide, please. So kind of have to pay attention here pretty closely. So all ARP ESSER funds must be obligated no later than September 30th of 2024. So if you're going to request an extended liquidation, you must obligate your funds by July 1 of 2024. So if you're not going to ask for an extension, then you have to obligate by September 30th, and then you have to make your payments and then request reimbursement by November 15th of 2024. And if you're seeking a late liquidation extension, then the opportunity is there for you to obligate all your funds by July 1 and then have up to 18 months for payments and reimbursements. So that would be to February of 2026. Next slide, please. Oh, and I guess I should say that the liquidation extension is not a given. It is a review, and it's a request, a review, and then hopefully an approval. So it's not a given. And as you'll see here, the liquidation extension request, it requires extensive documentation required to be submitted and maintained in KDE throughout the liquidation period. So the district will be responsible for providing justification and certain reporting. So how will this all work? KDE will collect, all districts will make their request to KDE. KDE will then combine those into one request, and then that will be submitted to US Ed. And those district requests for late liquidations will be through GMAP, just as in the prior late liquidation request. And then it's important to note that change orders cannot be, to ESSER funded obligations cannot be paid after September 30th, 2024. Next slide, please. So we included this slide to let you to refresh your memory on what it means to be obligated for these federal funds. I think I won't read it to you, but it's there for reference. I think it's important to see that services, travel, and rental, that can't be paid after September 30th. All right, next slide, please. So again, here's sort of the process. May 6th of 2024, GMAP will open for a liquidation extension request. District ARP funds for liquidation must be obligated by July 1. And that's also the date that GMAP closes for ARP liquidation extension requests. And then on September 4th, after a period of time for KDE to review those requests, we'll submit our one extension request to US Ed on September 4th, 2024. Next slide, please. So we're going to refresh your memory about ESSER construction and renovation projects. Next slide, please. These are projects that these are things that require prior approval. So if equipment costs over $5,000, bus and vehicle purchases, and of course facility, those all require prior approval. Also for construction, Davis-Bacon Act compliance is required. And we note that an after the fact late approval is better than no approval. So if you didn't get approval on the front end, after the fact approval is better than no approval. Next slide, please. And I think that's it. So I'm going to kick it over to Mickey Ray, I think.
Thank you, Matt. Yes, good afternoon, superintendents. Christy Biggerstaff and I are here today to talk to you about the launch of the statewide literacy coaching model. And we're just so thankful to have this opportunity and are looking forward to partnering with Kentucky schools and districts around our literacy coaching model. So I want to begin on the next slide. It gives some information about the policy behind this work. And so I know you are aware, with the passage of Read to Succeed, Senate Bill 9 of 2022, the department was required by September 1 of 2023 to develop coaching academies or teacher academies and the coaching model for teachers. And so our initial focus was on the letters professional learning as part of the Kentucky Reading Academies. And Christy, who is here and is going to speak in just a bit, has led the charge around letters and is constantly curating more participation and increased involvement in that PL. But this will allow us to have the funding basis per the Read to Succeed Fund, and you can see that statute decided there, to begin building out our coaching model to come alongside of teachers as they're implementing their new HQIR and the structured literacy practices that are a part of Read to Succeed. On the next slide, I wanted to give just a little bit of an explanation about this new team. So the funding did allow us to build out a true division of early literacy. And so Christy serves as our director and is doing just amazing work across the Commonwealth in this space. She is supported by Ashley Hill, who is an assistant director of early literacy, and Ashley comes to us from Corbin Independent School District. We have 5 new state regional literacy directors who will support the coaches who are placed in schools across the Commonwealth. And we have 25 literacy coaches who will be school-based staff. And it's meant to serve schools with greatest need. And Christy's going to explain a little bit more about what we mean by that. Turn it over to you, Christy.
Thank you, Mickey. And if you'll go to the next slide, and while they're doing that, I do want to take just 10 seconds and brag on that team that Mickey just introduced you to. They have worked diligently this year to really learn and know literacy best practices. They have a heart for schools and for districts, and most importantly for students. So they are a phenomenal team, and I can't wait for you to just meet them and be introduced to them in just a little while. So you might be sitting there thinking, as a superintendent, what does that look like? If we are partnered with a literacy coach from the state, what will they do? So we have some responsibilities listed there on the screen. I won't go through every single one of them, but I do want to touch on some of them. First and foremost, they're going to build relationships with your leaders and teachers at the school and district level. We know that relationships is foundational to this work, and we want the leaders and teachers inside those buildings to truly see them as experts in literacy and to allow them to support the work within your school. They're going to be in your schools on-site coaching Monday through Thursday each week. They're also going to, along with the regional directors, assess the current state of literacy so they can develop goals, plans with the leadership to really propel the work forward. They're also going to support your teachers in unit and lesson internalization, and they're also going to, importantly, help them with the implementation of high-quality instructional resources. They're going to co-teach and model for teachers inside the building, lead professional learning communities. They're going to have data conversations, and they're going to facilitate small group and school-wide professional learning opportunities for that school and district. Next slide. We also wanted to tell you how we chose the schools that we want to truly partner with. We thought about 3 different filters or considerations, the first being performance. If schools had 50% or more students identified as novice on the KSA, specifically in 3rd grade reading, or 40% or less of students identified as proficient and distinguished, that was our first consideration around performance. The second was instructional considerations. We want our schools to be implementing a high quality instructional resource as required by KRS 158305, and also a KDE approved valid and reliable universal screener and diagnostic, also required by KRS 158305. And then the last filter that we thought about was non-academic considerations. We truly want to impact the entire state within the entire state with this work. So we wanted our placement of the coaches to represent all of our geographic regions in the state of Kentucky. We did not want to place them within their own home school. And then we want our leaders to commit to the assurances that we will reach out and talk about in another time. And then I think Mickey's going to talk to you about the timeline of our work.
Thank you, Christy. And so as we stated, we are starting with 25 school-based coaches. If you compare that to Mississippi or other states, they have up to 80 coaches, but it was very important to us that we could ensure that we are placing someone within your schools who has true expertise in this area. So we were looking for quality, not just quantity in terms of the number of coaches. So in terms of our communication timeline, obviously we are announcing the literacy coaching model today to you superintendents. Following the webcast, you will be receiving an email. Some of you will be receiving an email from me. I will have Christy copied on that, as well as the building principal of the school that we would like to target for this partnership. And that email will contain information about an informational webinar, which will occur on February the 27th. From there, we will be sharing assurances with the district and the school, and that will contain the roles and responsibilities of the regional coaching director, the school-based literacy coach, as well as what we would need from the school to ensure that we have a successful partnership. But the goal is that within the spring, after the Division of Early Literacy team makes an on-site visit to the school and district, we would love for the school-based literacy coach to begin learning about the partner school already, so that they can start that relationship building that Christy mentioned, and even potentially be able to join any HQIR related professional development that would happen over the summer, so that they too can be aware of what your staff is hearing around the utilization of that resource. So we are so optimistic and so hopeful for this partnership. We want it to provide quality service to schools and districts across the state. And so I guess the main message is more to come on that. Anything else you'd like to say as a last comment, Christy?
Just again, echoing that, we're so excited about this work. We truly feel like this will be impactful, and our districts and schools will learn and want a literacy coach once they kind of see the work that we've got ahead of us. So very excited to start this initiative.
Thank you. And I think our last slide will have our contact information embedded, and maybe not, but you can certainly email myself or Christy for any questions related to the literacy coaching model. But I'm also here today to share another opportunity with you. And we have been promoting March leadership meetings across the Commonwealth since 2019 with the establishment of our new academic standards. And so this year will be no different. And on the next slide, it highlights many of the pieces that we are bringing forward to district and school leaders who will be in attendance at those meetings. So we want to talk much more about effective curriculum implementation. There has been a significant shift in the field, moving away from teacher-created resources to true high-quality instructional resources. And that is an issue of access and opportunity that we are promoting. And so we know that there is important support that's needed for effective implementation, and that implementation looks different in your launch PL versus what's happening year one versus what's happening in ongoing implementation for those resources. So the Division of Program Standards team will be there. Crystal Rowland is the director. Misty Higgins, Fox DeMosey will be there to provide supports around the model curriculum framework specifically, and our new resources that promote curriculum-based professional learning and what that looks like. We also know we need to provide some standards updates. So you can see there, we do have new resources to support the Kentucky Academic Standards for Science, which most recently became effective. But we want to give an update too on where we are with the Kentucky Academic Standards for Visual Performing Arts, as well as health education and physical education. So that meeting will be short but mighty in terms of the information we're able to share with you on that date. On the next slide, it shows you our target audience. So this is truly for you as superintendents, as the curriculum leaders across your district, but we would also love to invite your chief academic officers, your district curriculum and instruction leads, if you have a district MTSS coordinator, certainly your local HQIR coordinator, and any school-based administrator that you might also like to invite. And these will be held in person. So we've worked with our 8 regional cooperatives who are always so kind at providing us with space and time to reach folks across each region. And so most of the sessions will accommodate 50 to 100 attendees. And so we would love to see you in person if the date and time works for your region. On the next slide, we tried to make it as easy as possible. We have embedded the registration links for you. And I am happy to also share this later as needed, but each of those dates, it shows you the time and also the cooperative location. We do want to mention that if none of those dates and times work for you, that one of the sessions will be recorded and posted online, but there is something to be said about the power of an in-person meeting, and we would love to see you at those as well. I think there's one more. Yes, okay, we do have contact information. So my email address is included here, Crystal Rowland as well as the director of DPS. And I believe now, Brian, I'm going to turn it over to you. Brian is our director of government relations for a legislative update.
Thank you, Mickey. Apologies, I was trying to follow along. Senate Bill 11 is being voted on in the Senate right now. So today marks the halfway point of the 2024 legislative sessions, day 30 of 60. So we have another 30 days of session, and then they will be done for the year, hopefully. So we have about 2 weeks left for the filing deadlines in each chamber. After that, no new bills can be introduced, although they can still do committee subs and floor amendments, which can substantially change bills. You'll see the link there for the session calendar. Please note they are off on Monday for President's Day and will not be back in session until Tuesday of next week. If you would like to follow along, there are 2 ways to do that. You can tune in to KET, the online version or the app are both pretty handy. Most committees are streamed on KET's channels. A few things do get bumped over to LRC's YouTube channel when there are multiple committees meeting at the same time, especially late in the session. This is a budget year, so we have the governor's proposal, which is House Bill 114. It will not move forward. The House version is House Bill 6. That will be the version that gets voted on and moves forward. The Senate now has that. We suspect that we won't see that until probably early next month. At that point, once the Senate votes on their version, they'll go into conference and hammer out the final version that will go to the governor for action. The governor does have line item veto power in the budget bill. However, they can overturn each individual veto with a simple majority vote. So that's the budget process. The House version is out. I'm sure you all have heard all about what's included and not included. So we'll see what the Senate decides to do and see what goes to the governor for action at the end of March. Next slide, please. So we have a lot of bills that have already been filed, even though we have 2 weeks before the filing deadlines. I think this morning there were over 600 bills filed in both chambers, so a lot of legislation out there. I'm not going to go through all of these bills individually, but I did want to highlight a few and just give you an idea of, at a glance, kind of some of the issues and topics that are being discussed and considered during the session. I also limited this group to those that have actually been assigned to a committee. So when a bill is introduced in both chambers, it goes to what's called the Committee on Committees. That's just the official first step. The next step is for it to get sent to an actual committee like House Education or Senate Education. That's really the start of a bill moving towards the finish line. So all the bills here have been assigned to committee. There are a lot more on our watch list that have not yet been assigned to committee. So at some point in the session, we reach a point where we could consider bills dead just because they haven't moved far enough in the process. So this is kind of the ones that are moving for right now. So a couple of interests. So as I said earlier, Senate Bill 11 just got voted out of the Senate. It will now go to the House for consideration. This is trying to speed up the process by which school districts get notified when a student is charged with a crime. So An important bill related to school safety. We'll see what happens over on the House side. You'll see down there Senate Bill 52. I just wanted to point this one out because I think this is becoming an increasing topic of interest. I don't think that this particular bill will move this session, but I do think that as we enter the interim period after the end of the session, there's going to be a lot of talk about artificial intelligence in education, how it will impact education, how it can be used in education, just all of the myriad of ways that it's going to interact with the education sphere. So stay tuned for that. I think there's going to be just a lot of interest in this emerging technology. Next slide, please. So Senate Bill 92, I'm just going to use this as the one to highlight. There are a number of bills that have been filed this session relating to student transportation. There are several, specifically like 92, that are trying to loosen the regulations around transportation of students in passenger vehicles. So, obviously the safest way for students to be transported is on traditional school buses. They're big, they're large, they're very visible, and they're very, very safe. And so just keeping that at the forefront as we discuss these transportation bills. Department has been asked to provide feedback on several, so we will be doing that and communicating comments and suggestions to bill sponsors as these bills move forward. So right below that, you'll see a bill relating to students with children. There are several bills out this year that I think are getting more attention than they have in the past related to women's health and women mothers, and some that are involved in the school system. I think that we will see these get some consideration. I think that we'll probably likely see several of them get put into one bill that perhaps moves forward. Still early in the process, so I'm not really sure. But I just wanted to put on the radar that I think there's been a little more consideration than I think has been given in past sessions. So we'll see where those go. So there at the bottom, you'll see a slate of bills, 169, 170, and 171. Those are related to issues that I'm sure all of you all have been made aware of and are following along in the news, perhaps on social media. They're all sort of interconnected, trying to address some different issues. We will be providing feedback on some of those bills as well, as I'm sure other stakeholders will, but just wanted to put those on the radar because I think all of those will be considered at some level. And again, not sure if they'll move individually, if certain ones will move, but certainly wanted to make you aware of those. Finally, at the bottom, I'm happy to announce that we finally have our CTE funding distribution bill. Senator Givens filed SB 192 for us on Friday, and Representative McCool over in the House filed House Bill 499. Just wanted to put those on the radar. We've been working, OCTE has been working hard on those for the better part of a year now, and so very excited to see those. It will hopefully be an exciting change in the CTE world. Just wanted to point those out. All right, moving on to the next slide, please. And just a reminder, we have a lot more House bills because we have a lot more House members, 38 senators, 100 House members. So there's a long list of House bills, and we'll just highlight a few of these. House Bill 2 is the educational funding amendment that I think is likely to move forward. We saw House Bill 208 there in the middle of the slide, filed a little earlier in the session, but I think given the sponsor and the bill number, House Bill 2 will be the constitutional amendment that moves forward. And this would open the door for public funds to flow not just to the common schools. So that's likely to go on the ballot in the fall. Just a little bit of a note, because there are several constitutional amendments this year. They do require a higher threshold to get out of each chamber. And then they obviously will have to be put on the ballot for voter approval. They can only put 4 amendments on the ballot this fall. So there's more than 4 out there right now. So we'll see which ones move forward. Although I think it's almost certain that House Bill 2 makes it onto the ballot in the fall. House Bill 162 moved out of committee this morning. This is the numeracy bill. The department has been working with the sponsor on this one. This is kind of a follow-up to the Read to Succeed Act that Mickey was talking about earlier, and trying to address sort of similar concerns with early math education. So Mickey has been very involved in this bill as it's moved forward. I think there's still a long way to go for it to get to the finish line. It took a long time to get Read to Succeed done. I think this is our second session working on the math bill, so we'll see where it goes from here. But I suspect that we're not near the finish line on this one just yet. But I'm excited that we are talking about it. I think it's a very important topic for us to discuss, and so glad that it's making its way. Chair Tipton, who filed 162, has also filed House Bill 275 again. This is a repeat bill. It got out of the House last year. This is a very similar version. So it's over in the Senate and awaiting action there. It had not been assigned to the Senate as of Friday. I did not check this morning to see if it's been assigned yet again. So this one is trying to close the loopholes related to bad actors in districts. Obviously, the vast majority of teachers are excellent and do a great job. This bill is just trying to close the loophole that allows those very few bad actors to move from district to district without ever being held accountable. So hopefully we'll see 275 get across the finish line this year. Next slide, please. House Bill 300 is related to 275, just on the other side. It's trying to speed up the process for teachers that have had complaints filed against them with the EPSB. Again, a lot of conversations around this one. It got a revised version voted out of the House Education Committee this morning. So we will be obviously looking at that committee sub and providing more feedback as that one makes its way probably to the Senate, and we'll see where it goes from there. House Bill 377 is kind of an exciting one. The House included in their budget proposal a couple of new programs under KIA that would be not administered by the department, but by KIA. One is a student loan forgiveness program for teachers, and the other one is a stipend program for folks in doing student teaching. So both of those are really exciting. The student teachers would get up to $5,000 per semester. So this 377 is just making a few changes to the budget language there. House Bill 387 changes teacher certification related to substitutes. It would allow but not require districts to hire folks with a high school diploma, but not up to 64 hours of college credit to be substitutes. But again, want to make sure that people realize that that's not mandatory. Districts can still set that 64-hour threshold if they choose. Next slide, please. There's also a couple of resolutions that I wanted to point out, particularly there at the bottom is House Concurrent Resolution 60. This is another SEEK task force. So just wanted to make sure everyone was aware that that will be meeting starting in June at the start of the interim. We also had another House resolution introduced yesterday that I didn't get a chance to update the slides with. It's 83, House Concurrent Resolution 83, and that establishes the Teacher Red Tape Reduction Task Force. So that one will also meet throughout the interim, and I think has a required report due to LRC by December 1st as well. So that's the really quick version of what's happening in Frankfort right now. As always, please reach out if you have any questions or concerns. If you're ever in the annex and want to say hello, please do. With that, I will turn it over to Dr. Woods Tucker. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian, and thanks for all of your efforts with all this policy stuff going on. Jen has given me 2 minutes. I promise you I'll be done in 2 minutes. First and foremost, I want to express how proud I am of our staff in the Office of Teaching and Learning and the work that they're doing to improve literacy, and certainly a big thank you to our superintendents and staff in our local districts and your efforts to improve literacy here in the Commonwealth, because we know from research and personal experience that with a highly literate community, we know that it reduces poverty. We know that it certainly increases one's health, one's well-being, and of course, it increases the job market. The labor market is always looking for well-educated people. So excited about what the future is for Kentucky. And again, thank you. My last minute deals with the counselor, what we traditionally call the counselor use of time survey. big thank you to our superintendents who have, and most of you have completed it. So I hate to say this, but a big thanks to all of you who've taken time to complete the survey. A few of you have not completed it. If you have not done so, you should have received an email message from Dr. Michelle Searcy, who is our coordinator of comprehensive school counseling, with a hard deadline for tomorrow, Valentine's Day. So I know you all are getting ready for Valentine's Day. So please submit that survey as soon as possible. As you know, that's in statute KRS 158.4416. So please get that in and have a great evening and a great Valentine's Day. And those of you superintendents who are still on, I'll see some of you at our national AASA conference. Thanks, and I'll now turn it over to our interim commission.
Thank you, Thomas. Now we're going to turn it over to our friends from the Cabinet for Health and Family Services. This is Medicaid benefits for school-based health care. I believe Annette Newsom is joining us. So Annette, can you join us on camera?
Oh, just a moment here. Let me see. Can you see me?
We can.
Okay. All right. Good evening or afternoon. I'm so glad to be here today. I'm with School-Based Services, and I'm really pleased to announce that our survey is going out. I think it may have actually even gone out today. And next slide, please. The purpose of the survey is to determine the services that are currently provided in the school districts, identifies areas of need to gain a better understanding of how things are being delivered at the schools, identify where DMS and KDE may need to provide additional training and where resources should be allocated. Next slide, please. Our goal is to have all school districts enrolled in school-based services. However, they're not. Next slide, please. We have 171 districts. However, only 168 are enrolled in school-based services. 58 are in expanded access or free care. And we do have 3 right now that are not participating or they haven't been approved as of yet. Next slide, please. Just to give you a little importance as to why, we want to make sure these children are, we reach out to them. 1 out of 6 U.S. youths between the age of 6 and 17 experience mental health disorders. However, half of the mental health conditions begin by the age of 14. And 2, we can reach them because they're in an educational setting where they spend the majority of their time. And schools, it's a unique opportunity for us to reach out to them. And in 2019, 15% of adolescents aged 12 to 17 reported receiving mental health services at school. Next slide, please. The survey is going to be distributed via email. I think we got the approval today to send that out. I do believe that Beth is going to put the survey link in the chat. Approximately 850 of these will be going out, and the response or return date should be within 4 weeks. So at that time, we can start, calculating our data. Next slide, please. There's only 9 questions. However, there are some follow-up questions depending on how the questions are answered. Next slide, please. And what we're hoping to find out is, who is enrolled in the expanded access or free care, or what may be preventing them to do so. Services that are being provided, if services are contracted out, such as nursing, behavioral health, variety of therapy services, personal care services, and special transportation, where training may be needed, and barriers that are preventing implementing expanded access. Next slide, please. And although short and sweet, here are our contacts. Erica Jones is my branch manager, so if you can reach out to either of us.
Thank you so much, Annette. Thank you for joining us today and letting our superintendents know about the survey that will be hitting their mailboxes soon, if it hasn't already. And we look forward to getting that data collected from our school districts and our continued partnership with the Cabinet for Health and Family Services.
I do have one other thing. Additional information will also be on the KDE's weekly communication with the superintendents as well.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll make sure that we send out some reminders to our superintendents who are very, very busy people in our commissioners' Monday update. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
I want to stop for just a minute and see if we had any questions that had come in through our question and answer collection form.
We do
Jennifer,
actually have
anything?
one, Commissioner.
Okay.
We've got from Montgomery County, how are literacy coaches chosen? How are they hired? MOA?
Okay. We'll let
Happy
Mickey
to take
answer that one.
Commissioner. So yes, they will be the 25 coaches that we have already hired. So they are state level literacy coaches. They have MOAs with their home district. And as Christy shared, none of those coaches will be placed back in their home school. But there is the possibility that in some scenario, they may go back to their home district within a different building. But we will be working based on the filters that Christy shared to reach out to the selected district and school specifically where the state level coach will be placed. And so the KDE is taking on all of the responsibilities for that person in terms of salary and other things. So that would flow through their MOA with their current district. I hope that effectively addressed that, Commissioner.
Thank you so much, Mickey. And really, this concludes our webcast for today. We hope that we have provided you some good and useful information. Of course, you can always reach out to any of us individually if you have further questions about any of the materials that have been provided today, or if you just have questions about anything else related to the Kentucky Department of Education. Our next superintendent's webcast will be on March 12th. And we'll go back to that 2 to 4 time frame. We had to slide today's just a little bit because I had the privilege and honor of joining a lot of our career and technical education students at a proclamation signed by Governor Beshear about it being CTE month. So that was a lot of fun and caused us to just scoot it just a little bit. But we'll see you next time, March 12th, 2024 from 2 to 4. I hope each of you have a good day, and thank you again for joining us.